When you were given a script, do you read the entire screenplay or only the parts that you're playing?
Interesting question. Depends on the time. I mean, if you have a very rapid turnaround for the audition, you may not be able to read the whole screenplay. There's an old actor expression where they go, I won't say the swear word because BS, 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 my line, BS, 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 my line.
De Niro?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I don't know who said that, but I like to read the script if I have time. Sometimes they don't send you the script, by the way. Sometimes the script's embargoed and you don't have a chance to read it. If it's a show that's on the air, you can watch an episode or two and get a feel for it, for the world and the tone and the genre of the show. But ideally, if you could read the script, yeah. I coached somebody yesterday who, it was the most weird audition. She comes to me to help explain this stuff, and I said, I'm lost with you. And they didn't send her the script. I said, so we just have to do a little educated guessing because I don't really know what this scene here means exactly in the larger tapestry of the story. So, but yeah, in an ideal world, if you have the time and they give you the script, if it's a movie, they usually give you the script. If it's an episodic television show, you generally get just your sides, your scenes, and you have the opportunity to watch an episode or two if you have time to do that. That helps a lot. That definitely helps a lot because then you kind of know what the world is that you're entering. I did a thing, this is such an embarrassing story, but I'll tell it because I was a snob at one point. I booked a guest star on Melrose Place, the original Melrose Place. I'd never watched the show. I shot the show. I never watched my episode because I thought, I'm above Melrose Place. I'm not that, stupid of me. Anyway, did you ever watch that show?
I was an extra on it.
Okay. So you remember the set
Yeah.
with the pool and all that stuff.
Yep.
So I show up the first day of work. Second AD is taking me to wherever the dressing room or wardrobe area is. And I see the set and I go, wow, that's amazing. What is this? And she said to me, this is Melrose Place. I went, aha, I'm an idiot. I mean, it was so embarrassing because I didn't know the show. I booked it and I shot it, but that was a really stupid move on my part. I mean, it was arrogant. It was a bad moment. But you have to understand, so to get back to your original question of do you read the script, you have, however, whether it's the script or watching something online now, which when Melrose Place was on, we didn't have that. I don't think it was on. But your job is to figure out what world you're entering. So if you can read the script, fantastic. If you don't get it, you've got to figure it out other ways. And it comes down to that. It comes down to the world that you're entering. More and more now shows are a particular world. Yellowstone is a world. I mean, it's an incredible world. And all these shows. And so you really do have to understand what the transaction is, what your part in that transaction is. But yeah, if you can read the script, great. But reading a full script for a movie, that takes an hour, hour and a half. Sometimes you don't have that time. You skim it, or you'll get, when the audition comes in, you'll get a storyline, generally speaking. You'll get a storyline of what this is about. You'll get a character description. Sometimes they're useful, sometimes they're not, because sometimes the person who writes them is the third assistant who may or may not know really in a granular way what they're describing. So, and sometimes it's just educated guessing. And it's easier in a way than it used to be because you can look at things and say, or you can research that director or that writer. You get an idea of what it is you're entering into.
Did you go back and watch that episode?
Of Melrose?
Yeah, it should be somewhere online.
I'm sure it is. I've never watched it.
No, you haven't. Okay.
No, it's all right. I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good. I don't need to see it.
Okay.
I'm sure it's fine.
What is your process for breaking down a screenplay?
Well, if I have the time, I obviously will read the whole screenplay. And I want to know what the larger arc of the story is, first of all. I just want to know what this is. What is this story we're all telling? Breaking it down for an actor is very different than breaking it down for like a director or a DP or somebody like that. I think that my process is pretty external in a way. I will sort of, I had a epiphany when I was in college because they were teaching kind of method-based acting, and I just didn't get it. I went, oh, no, I don't get this. This doesn't work for me. And I was doing some play, and I went into the costume shop, and I was looking for a jacket or a coat. And I found this coat, and I put it on, and I went, and I watched myself in the mirror, and I went, oh, that's the guy. So I found out that I work externally, and once the externals are in place, I can fill it in emotionally, but I need to know kind of the north, south, east, and west of the scene. Like, okay, there's the window, there's the door. I need to know physically, and whether it's evident in the script or whether it's just my imagination, I kind of need to know that. That's me. That isn't necessarily the way to do it. That's the way I do it. I think everybody has a different technique. I think all roads lead to Rome. You just got to get to Rome. And everybody's different. And some people are very internal and very emotionally. I'm not. I fill that out later once I get the structure of it. And that's kind of the similar way that I worked when I worked in the theater in a way as well. I have to find the structure of it. Once I feel confident in that, once I know the words, I have to know the words. Can't be thinking about the words. Then I feel I can fill it in. I can fill it in. But a lot of roles that one does aren't even emotionally that, they're functionary. You're a lawyer and you're doing a courtroom scene, and there isn't a tremendous amount of emotional stuff there. It's all functionary stuff to drive the plot forward. And you also have to understand that. Like a co-star role is generally that. It's somebody who they interview for one scene who tells you something about the murder suspect, and then you never see them again, right? So you have to understand the function of the role. Those smaller roles are frankly harder because you have very few opportunities to really make impression's the wrong word, but to sort of establish who your character is. And it's usually just, if it's all about casting. If I'm well cast, it makes perfect sense, and it's real easy for me to break it down and figure out where I have to be. I did a movie in 2021. The audition was entirely improv. They said, these are the characters you're dealing with. This is your wife. This is your nephew. And it was a kind of really good film. It came out just great. Just won a big award up at Cinequest. But there was very little on the page. Very little on the page. It was like, it's about a family. It's about a death in the family. It's about problems relating to money and finances and all that stuff. And it's a Jewish family. And there's like aunts and uncles, and they're like the Jewish Greek chorus. So they're kind of everywhere. They're in every scene. But there wasn't really a lot on the page. So how do you break that down? You kind of don't break that down. You're cast to be like, oh, he or she is the right person for that. Oh, you're playing my wife? Perfect. That looks great. It makes sense chemistry-wise. But there was no way I could break that down because, there were 2 or 3 scenes, but we were in many, many more scenes than that. And we added dialogue that wasn't there as well. So that's a whole different thing. I mean, the improv thing, I'm not trained in improv, but I like doing it as an exercise. It's fun and it's freeing. And it was fun to do an audition that way because I didn't have to memorize it. But how could I break down that script? I really couldn't. I just had to show up as that guy, and also trust that, trust is the name of the movie, by the way, and trust that what you have is right, and you feed off of the other people in that case in particular, because it really was this 6-person ensemble of relatives who were in every scene and making everybody's life a little crazy. So the only danger with that is like padding it too much, trying to make more of it than it is. You got to be careful about that. We had one actor who shall remain nameless who was problematic that way, but it's understanding the world. It's understanding, and how you break it down it's different for every project, I guess, is the way I would understand that. If it's 2 or 3 strong scenes where you have a definite thing to do, you're the prosecuting attorney, you're the social worker, you're the doctor, those are kind of functionary scenes that do carry an emotional weight if it's a good script. So I'm very word-oriented. I mean, that's the other thing. I'm extremely word-oriented. I believe in literally being forensic with the words, like, and I will use this as a teaching technique. What's the most important word in that sentence and why? And there's usually a reason. And it's like figuring out where that lives. I mean, it's really important to be, I mean, that was something that was really imbued in me from working in the theater for many, many years, is the text is everything. And in the theater, you can't change a thing. You cannot change a word. So you have to work with what you have. If the text isn't great, you find a way to make it great. That's your job, is to make it better than it is. That's the actor's job, is to make bad writing be better than it appears to be. I mean, sometimes I coached an audition the other day, and when we were done with this, young woman did a great job. I said, it's better than they deserve. You did a great job. Because sometimes that's what it is.
So if we were to take the line, I need to talk to you, Michael. And
you did that very well, by the way.
Thank you. Let's say I'm your boss.
Yes.
And I've discovered that you're playing online poker. We've had the IT company come in.
This is a great scene. I love this.
And so it's a sensitive issue, and we don't want the other coworkers to know about it, but we want to keep you because we like you, but we think maybe he has a gambling problem. So what would be the forensics of that sentence? It's a very simple sentence.
Of I need to talk to you? Mm-hmm. If I'm playing that part?
Either I'm the employee
giving
or
or receiving?
the
okay.
Yeah, right. So
it's what I call a change moment. That's a change moment in a scene. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, by the way, I need to talk to you.
Okay.
Okay, can we have...
Sure.
So it's identifying change moments. Every time there's a change, and there are, even bad writing has change moments in it. Okay, so like if you're watching television, if you got television on in the background and it's some local news broadcast and some person had something horrible happen to one of their children, or you're hearing the newscaster, he's got the microphone and he's interviewing somebody and there's been something terrible happen, and then all of a sudden it goes quiet. And you go, what? And that person's crying, let's say, or whatever. That silence, this is the one thing, particularly theater actors have, I won't say have an issue with, I can't generalize, but we feel like we have to get to the next thing. We have to get to the next thing. And I'll just say, find a place in there to just be quiet so that you let us in. As soon as you're quiet, and it has to be earned, in the scene, but if you said to me, what is the line? We have to talk. What is the line you just gave me?
I need to talk to you, Michael.
Okay. What is that about?
Do you want to come in my office?
Yeah. I'll be right back.
Right.
So you fill it with pauses. You fill it with thinking. I used to do an exercise called Thinking on Film, where basically I would say, 30 seconds, I don't want you to say one word. I want you to have an idea. I want you to have something that just happened to you. It's either good or it's bad. You got a phone call that somebody just broke up with you. Whatever it is, I don't need to know what it is. You have a narrative in your head. You are allowed one physical gesture and no words for 30 seconds. Go. And it's fascinating because people know. They may not know exactly what's happening, but they kind of know. And I said, don't overdo it. Don't pretend to be sad. It's just here. It's just in your face and in your eyes and in your thinking. So I call it thinking on film. And you can think on film, and that's the beauty. You can, once you get to that point as a practitioner of film and TV acting when you can just think something and it's there. That's magic. I mean, because I'm word oriented because that's how I was trained. But sometimes you have to leave that behind and just be moment oriented, be quiet for a second and let people in.
So when you said about these functional roles, that you're not playing necessarily Pacino in a courtroom scene. You might just be a corporate attorney who's confirming dates or something, and it's not where you're going to be over the top stealing the show.
Right.
And so people think maybe that that's what their function is, or?
Well, the role has a function within the story, and that's generally on a role like that. It's generally pretty clear what it is. There's generally not a lot of subtext unless there's something else going on. But if it's just a functionary thing, like legal stuff, I've done a lot of legal stuff. And yes, I'm not a lawyer, but I play one on TV. It's kind of easy because it's procedural, and the magic of it is that you just do it as you. You just do it. So whatever, your neutral is not neutral. My neutral is not neutral. No one's neutral is neutral. You come in with some core thing about who you are that kind of plays through everything. So even if you're doing a functionary role, a role that's just talking about some legal thing, whoever it is you are, and again, as I said before, this gets more complex and more interesting as you get older and you kind of are more at home with who you are. That just is there. And so that's kind of what you were hired for, in a way, is to be, as I said earlier, a dynamic, truthful version of who you already are. So the lines are just, look, that stuff, it's like a baked potato. You can put anything on a baked potato. You can put salsa, you can put cream cheese, you can put sour cream, you can put chives, but it's still a baked potato. The baked potato needs flavor added to it. That's kind of what we bring in a functionary role. We add flavor to the baked potato. I can't believe I just said that.